Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe and support me. Max Carter always thought of himself as a simple man with a simple job. Fixing things was what he did best on machines, devices, technology. It didn't matter if it was a human-designed coffee maker or an alien navigation system with the complexity of a star's gravitational pull, Max could handle it. It's just that sometimes, technology liked to get weird. Really weird. On this particular day, Max found himself aboard the Andromeda Station, a shining example of interstellar cooperation between humans and the various alien races that made up the galactic coalition. The station, hanging serenely above the glowing disk of a blue gas giant, had a reputation for being one of the most high-tech hubs in the galaxy. Of course, being a hub of cutting-edge technology also meant that things broke down regularly. His assignment today? Fixing a coffee machine. But not just any coffee machine. No, this one had decided it no longer wanted to speak in standard galactic basic. Instead, it was stuck in some ancient alien dialect that no one could decipher. The machine refused to dispense anything remotely resembling coffee unless it was spoken to in the right tongue. To make matters worse, it had an attitude. Great. Another day, another malfunctioning appliance, Max muttered as he wiped the grease from his hands on his jumpsuit. His trusty alien assistant, Glorp, floated next to him, its jellyfish-like limbs undulating lazily in the low gravity of the station. I detect a high probability that the machine's eye is simply experiencing a software conflict, Glorp offered telepathically, its voice echoing in Max's mind. Although, the alien dialect is concerning. You don't say, Max replied dryly. Let's just get this over with. I have a whole list of repairs to get to today. The coffee machine sat in the corner of the station's staff lounge, sleek and shiny but with a definite air of superiority about it. Its interface was covered in strange alien glyphs, glowing faintly in a blue hue. Max sighed and crouched down, prying open the maintenance panel. All right, let's see what we've got here, Max said as he began running a diagnostic scan. His fingers moved deftly over the screen, navigating through layers of software code. Looks like it's trying to communicate with. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. What is it? Glorp asked, curiously floating closer. This thing's using a dialect from the Drogan Empire, Max said, shaking his head. You know, the species that died out over 1,000 years ago? No one speaks this language anymore. Fascinating, Glorp mused. A coffee machine with ancient Drogan programming. How peculiar. Yeah, fascinating, Max muttered sarcastically. The question is, how did it get there? And why does it think it needs to talk like a Drogan emperor just to make a cup of joe? As he delved deeper into the machine's programming, he could see the problem clearly. Some genius engineer had decided to integrate the station's central eye with the coffee machine for streamlined operations. Unfortunately, that eye had recently undergone a massive update that included a data dump of old Drogan archives. Max swore under his breath. I'm going to have to rewrite half the language matrix just to get this thing to burr again. He worked in silence for a few minutes, occasionally muttering complaints about over-engineered gadgets. Finally, he uploaded the revised program and closed the panel. With a beep, the coffee machine came back to life. Greetings, human, the machine intoned, its voice now smooth and polished, though still tinged with an alien accent. Would you like a cup of coffee? Max let out a sigh of relief. Finally. Yes. Coffee, black. The machine whirred for a moment before producing a steaming cup. Max grabbed it and took a sip. It was hot, bitter, and exactly what he needed. Okay, one down. What's next? Max asked, turning to Glorp. The alien assistant tapped its floating tablet with one of its many tendrils. There's a navigation system malfunction on a Targosian ship docked in the nearby sector. It's reported to be daydreaming. Max raised an eyebrow. Daydreaming? How does a ship daydream? Unknown. But we should investigate. Max shook his head, already regretting the upcoming assignment. Yeah, let's go figure out how to fix a ship that's lost in thought. The Targosian vessel was an impressive sight, a massive starship lined with intricate golden filigree and swirling patterns. As Max approached in his shuttle, the ship loomed ahead, its size dwarfing the surrounding starfield. Targosians were known for their opulence and arrogance, traits that extended to their ships. Max and Garp boarded the vessel, greeted by a Targosian noble with a severe expression. He wasted no time in pointing them toward the problem. Our navigation system has been erratic, the noble said, his tone dripping with disdain. It loses focus, drifts, it's dangerous, and frankly, embarrassing. Max stifled a smirk. He'd been around enough aristocrats to know that any malfunction on their grand ships was a personal affront. He was led to the ship's navigation hub, a vast room dominated by an enormous holographic display of the surrounding star systems. The system pulsed with energy, but every few seconds, it flickered and seemed to lose focus, the hologram distorting as if the eye controlling it had momentarily dozed off. "Let me guess," Max said as he approached the central console. "You integrated something into the system that doesn't belong." The Targosian noble stiffened. "We merely wish to honor our ancestors." Max sighed. Of course. He started running a diagnostic, and within minutes, he confirmed his suspicion. The Targosians had installed an eye system that incorporated the consciousness of their ancestors. These ancestors, long dead but preserved in digital form, were supposed to help guide the ship. The problem? The ancestors had a tendency to get nostalgic. "They're reminiscing," Max explained, trying to keep a straight face. "Your ancestors keep slipping into memories, and that's causing the navigation system to drift." The noble looked horrified. "You must fix it. We can't have our ship wandering aimlessly while our ancestors daydream." Max scratched his chin. "I can tune the system so the ancestors don't interfere as much with the ship's operations. They'll still be present, but their influence will be limited." "Do what you must," the noble replied, clearly uncomfortable with the idea of tinkering with the ancestral eye. Max got to work, carefully adjusting the balance of the eye's input. He needed to find a way to keep the ancestors engaged without letting them take over the navigation. After an hour of tweaking, he uploaded the changes. "There," he said, stepping back from the console. "Your ancestors will still have a presence, but they won't be daydreaming about the good old days while flying your ship." The noble nodded stiffly. "I trust you know what you're doing." As Max and Garp prepared to leave, the noble gave them a small, reluctant nod of thanks. It wasn't much, but in Targosian culture, it was practically a parade. "One more crisis averted," Max muttered to Garp as they boarded their shuttle. "What's next?" Garp consulted the tablet. "The Gorgothians have requested assistance with a heating malfunction in their floating castle." Max groaned. "Gorgothians? Great. They love setting traps for intruders. This is going to be fun." Max stared out at the massive Gorgothian castle floating in the gas giant's orbit. The structure resembled a fortress carved from obsidian, adorned with spikes and massive, glowing runes etched along the walls. The Gorgothians were a warlike race, obsessed with honor and combat, and their technology reflected that mindset. Everything from their heating systems to their door locks seemed designed to kill intruders. As the shuttle approached the docking platform, Max couldn't help but grimace. The Gorgothians had requested help with their malfunctioning heating system, and judging by the ominous hum of the castle's automated defenses, he knew this wouldn't be an easy fix. "Don't suppose you can sweet-talk their security systems into not frying us?" Max muttered to Garp as they disembarked. "I will do my best," Garp replied calmly, floating alongside him. They were met by a hulking Gorgothian guard clad in gleaming armor, his crimson eyes narrowing at them. "The heating system is on the brink of collapse," he growled, his voice like grinding rocks. "If it fails, the castle will become uninhabitable. Fix it quickly, or face the consequences." Max wasn't sure if the consequences would involve being thrown into a pit of Gorgothian gladiators or something worse, but he didn't care to find out. "Lead the way," he said. The interior of the castle was as intimidating as the outside, dark stone corridors lined with ancient weapons and trophies from countless wars. The air was already starting to grow cold, a clear indication that the heating system was failing. Mechs and Garp were escorted to the castle's core, where the heating unit was located. As they entered the room, the air grew noticeably colder, and the unit itself, an enormous, cylindrical machine glowing with faint blue light, was making a low, ominous hum. "It looks like it's running out of power," Mechs said, squinting at the control panel, and knowing the Gorgothians. "It's probably hooked up to some kind of ridiculously over-engineered system." He was right. The unit was powered by a fusion reactor, but the power lines were laced with defensive mechanisms designed to shock or trap anyone who tried to tamper with it. In typical Gorgothian fashion, even something as basic as a thermostat had to be a death trap. Mechs carefully approached the control panel, studying it for weak points. "Glorp, I'm going to need you to disable the security system while I reroute power." Glorp floated over to a nearby console and extended one of its tendrils, tapping into the system's code. "I am accessing the security protocols now. Stand by." Mechs crouched down beside the heating unit, tools in hand. The hum of the machine was growing louder, and the temperature was dropping by the second. He needed to act fast. As he worked, the castle's security system suddenly activated, and a series of glowing red lasers flickered to life across the room. Glorp," Mechs said, glancing at the deadly beams crisscrossing the air. "Now would be a good time." "I am working as quickly as I can," Glorp responded. Mechs gritted his teeth and carefully reached into the heating unit's power lines, avoiding the lasers by mere inches. His fingers danced over the wires, rerouting power and adjusting the flow of energy. Just as the temperature dipped to an unbearable chill, the machine roared to life, its blue glow intensifying as the heating system kicked back into gear. The lasers flickered and shut off as Glorp successfully disabled the security system. "The system is neutralized," Glorp announced. Mechs let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Good timing. With the heating system restored, the temperature in the castle began to rise rapidly. The Gorgothian guard who had escorted them returned, giving Mechs a nod of grudging respect. "You have done well, human. The castle will remain warm." Mechs dusted off his hands. "Glad to be of service. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to leave before your security system decides to fry me again." The guard simply grunted in approval and escorted them back to the shuttle. As Mechs and Glorp departed the Gorgothian stronghold, Mechs couldn't help but smile. Another job done, another day lived. "Let's hope the next one's less life-threatening," he said. Unfortunately, the galaxy had other plans. As they flew back toward their home base, Mechs received an urgent transmission. It was from the Galactic Coalition's Central Command, a high-priority repair request at a space station near the event horizon of a black hole. Mechs' stomach dropped. Black hole missions were never simple. Gravity distortions, time dilation, if things could get messy. Very messy. "This can't be good," he muttered, accepting the request. The coordinates brought them to a station on the edge of a swirling mass of cosmic darkness. The black hole loomed ominously in the distance, its gravitational pull warping the very fabric of space-time around it. As Mechs docked the shuttle, he could already feel the weird effects. His watch seemed to slow down, then speed up erratically, and the station's lights flickered as if stuck in a loop. "This is going to be a nightmare," Mechs muttered as he and Glorp stepped aboard the station. The crew was in disarray. Some members had aged significantly, their hair graying and their faces lined with wrinkles. Others seemed frozen in time, barely moving. The station's commander, a grizzled man in a sleek uniform, greeted Mechs with a tired expression. "We're in trouble, Carter," the commander said. "The gravity systems are malfunctioning, and the black hole's pull is warping time itself. We've got crew members stuck in time loops. others aging rapidly. It's chaos. Max took a deep breath. This was going to take everything he had. Alright, let's see what we're dealing with. The station's gravity core was located deep within its infrastructure, where the time distortions were at their worst. As Max and Garp made their way through the station, they encountered strange anomalies of floating objects frozen in midair, clocks spinning wildly, and crew members trapped in strange pockets of slowed or accelerated time. Max reached the core and immediately saw the problem. The station was powered by a form of alien energy that was highly unstable, and the proximity to the black hole was amplifying its effects. The gravity systems were overloaded, unable to handle the pull of the black hole and the alien energy simultaneously. "This thing's going to implode if we don't stabilize it," Max said, his voice tense. "Glorp, I need you to reroute auxiliary power while I balance the energy levels." Glorp floated to a nearby console and began working on the power systems. Meanwhile, Max approached the core, carefully adjusting the energy output. The gravity in the room fluctuated wildly. One second he felt weightless, the next he was nearly crushed by the force. His hands moved quickly, adjusting the energy conduits and diverting power to the failing systems. The black hole's pull was relentless, but Max wasn't about to let it win. As he made the final adjustments, the core stabilized, and the chaotic gravitational forces began to settle. The lights stopped flickering, and the strange time distortions started to fade. "We did it," Max said, wiping sweat from his brow. "The station's stable for now." The commander appeared, looking both relieved and exhausted. "You saved us, Carter. I don't know how you did it, but we owe you." Max waved him off. "Just doing my job. Let's hope I don't have to come back anytime soon." As Max and Garp returned to their shuttle, Max couldn't help but feel a strange sense of satisfaction. It wasn't every day you outsmarted a black hole. But before he could relax, Garp chimed in. "There is one more request." The Eye of the Universe. Max's heart skipped a beat. The Eye of the Universe was a massive, ancient alien structure that controlled the flow of energy between galaxies. It had been inactive for centuries, and if something was wrong with it, well, that was a whole new level of disaster. "Of course," Max muttered. "Because why would the universe give me a break?" They made their way to the Eye, a colossal satellite orbiting the center of the galaxy. The structure was awe-inspiring, a massive ring glowing with faint, mysterious light. It was said that the Eye held the key to untold energy, capable of controlling the very fabric of space. As they docked with the structure, Max could feel the tension building. This was the ultimate repair job, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If he failed here, entire star systems could be destroyed. Max and Garp entered the Eye's control chamber, a vast, echoing space filled with alien technology that defied understanding. The energy levels were dangerously unstable, and hostile alien factions were already converging on the structure, hoping to seize its power for themselves. Max wasted no time. "Glorp, we need to reboot the Eye's systems before anyone else can get their hands on it." "We're on the clock." Garp nodded, extending its tendrils to access the alien systems. Max worked quickly, bypassing damaged circuits and rerouting energy flows. The Eye's technology was ancient, far beyond anything he'd ever seen, but he wasn't about to let that stop him. As the hostile aliens closed in, Max and Garp finished the final adjustments. The Eye roared to life, its energy pulsing through the structure. The hostile forces were repelled, and the Eye's power stabilized, its energy flowing harmlessly between the galaxies once more. Max let out a long, exhausted breath. "We did it. The galaxy's safe for now." As they boarded their shuttle and prepared to leave, Max couldn't help but smile. It had been a wild, chaotic ride, but in the end, he'd saved the day. "Another successful job," he said, leaning back in his seat. "Let's hope the next one's a little less dramatic." But knowing the galaxy, Max figured it wouldn't be.